Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Sessions from Texas for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Interesting dialogue here. The bottom line is that we're trying to get to the point where we understand legality and who is going to be a citizen. I would hope that the gentleman from California would not think that we were against his family voting if they were citizens, to be counted if they were citizens. But it would be less than, I would be less than candor if I didn't say, I believe that what's happening today comes a lot from taking advantage of this politically to bring 10 or 20 million people into this country, to move them to areas that American citizens have moved away from because of their onerous way in which they legislate and tax and diminish those boundaries in political divisions such as New York and other places, and to crowd 20 million people into these areas just for the purpose of politics as opposed to the rule of law is, I think, really what this point's about. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield the remaining time I have to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Donalds.
I want to thank my colleague from Texas. I think that this debate is moving into an area typically where congressional debate goes into. Let's be very clear about what the bill does. For the 5th time, the count of people in the country would still occur, whether you're on a green card status or whatever the status are, or either if you have no status. But for the purposes of apportioning congressional districts, non-citizens would not apply to forming congressional districts. Not the count, not getting the numbers in various jurisdictions that deal with grant programs, funding programs, et cetera, that come from the federal government, or to help states plan accordingly for state budgets or localities planning for local budgets. That would not change. In the United States, we have no ability to force people to fill out the census. Like I said earlier, we don't have that ability. People fill it out because they choose to. Now, of course, we do ads during the Super Bowl and sporting events every single 10 years because we want people to fill out the census, but there are citizens who don't fill it out. You should not, it is unwise to count people for the purposes of setting representative districts in the House of Representatives who do not have the capability to vote because they are not citizens of the country. That doesn't mean you don't count them for all the various things. To a secondary point, it is actually the Republican Party that has always wanted to have legal immigration. What we don't want, and I find it interesting I have to make this comment constantly, but I will, and that's fine. What we do not want is what the President of the United States has foisted on the American people during his presidency. Right now, Joe Biden. This is what we don't want because it is damaging, frankly, inner city communities more than any other portion of the country. And based upon the current makeup of Congress, most inner cities are not represented by Republicans. They are represented by Democrats. And that is where the vast majority of the issues set around funding not being able to now meet the need because of massive illegal immigration by ignorance of the law of the President of the United States. Last thing I will say. With respect to what President Lincoln might have wanted, with respect to allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections, it's okay to disagree with a former Republican president. I disagree with that with President Lincoln. I do not think that is wise. I think that the only people who should be able to make political decisions within the framework of a representative government are the citizens of that government, of that nation.
Well,
I don't vote in Mexico if I was going to be in Mexico. I don't vote in Spain if I was going to be in Spain. And they wouldn't want me to vote there because I'm not a citizen of those countries. That is not xenophobia. That's common sense. And what has happened, oh no, I yielded before, I'm not yielding now, but thank you. What has happened to the debate around immigration, border security, around now apportionment and the census, is that if you have a legitimate point about how the business of the United States should run that is different from the current Democrat Party's vote, you are now xenophobic and don't care about immigrants. That is a lie. Let me also say, I would add that my current colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they have forgotten what their party actually used to stand for when it came to illegal immigration and immigration writ large. Because they actually did believe in secure borders and only a legal process and not massive amounts of illegal immigration. And that has changed fundamentally from where the Democratic Party was even 2 decades ago.
Will the gentleman yield?
With that, well, my time's up. I can't yield anymore. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.